All right, let's go.
I'm gonna say. Hey guys, this is Bigfoot Bourbon Company Reviews. We are here today to test out some Jim Beam's finest. I'm Charles.
I'm John.
And we are going to explore Basil Hayden's Toast today. So we're going to kind of explore one of the lower proof offerings that Jim Beam has, Suntory Beam has decided to put together. Originally the Basil Hayden line was designed to provide a lower proof option. You know, you got Knob Creek, you got Jim Beam, those are all a little bit higher proof. So this is supposed to be a little bit more accessible to people that don't drink a ton of bourbon.
What is the proof on this?
You're looking at 80.
Okay. Oh, wow.
It's
okay.
80 proof.
This is the lowest proof we've drank in a while.
Right. Every Basil Hayden's that I've ever seen, 10-year standard, they've got like a wine finish. There's like a slight subtle smoke, I think is what it's called. So it's got a little bit of a peat note in it. They're all 80. That, again, is to really help kind of introduce bourbon to people that don't generally drink bourbon. I've had this bottle for probably 3 years now. I will say when I found it, I was super excited because it was right when the toasted craze was kind of coming out. You know, Elijah Craig ended up putting theirs out, and you had a couple like double oaked Woodford Reserve. But I was super excited. I was like, man, this is going to be so good because I did initially enjoy Basil Hayden's when I first got into bourbon. It was really easy to drink. But then as I kind of evolved as a bourbon drinker, there wasn't as much depth, and it just didn't really hit how I wanted my bourbon to hit.
No long finish, no high proof, none of the things you look for.
So this was designed and produced by Booker No. He's the one that put it all together to try and again provide us something for a lower proof folk. So specifically, Basil Hayden's Toast is supposed to, because originally Basil Hayden's was to be smooth and spicy with some vanilla and caramel in it.
Okay.
But the toast,
appreciate that.
You add the bourbon to the toasted barrel, the finish in the toasted barrel. Let me add one more really interesting fact. They use a special mash bill. It's a brown rice mash bill for this. So it's a little bit different than what you normally like. It's not all the corn and the rice. I mean, I'm sure that's in there, but it's got brown rice in it. Which, you know, I think
I could use some rice in my diet.
Sure, brown rice, good stuff. They put it in the toasted barrel in an attempt to kind of reduce some of the spiciness.
Yeah, make it a little sweeter.
Right, and smoother. And so the notes that you're going to get, I would imagine, are going to be a little sweeter, more vanilla, more caramel.
Well, I'm already picturing Elijah Craig toasted in my. I've got it in my taste buds
and
right now.
That's what, at 92, I think, proof. So it's a little higher proof. And Woodford Double Oak is probably right around there too. Yeah. There's no age statement, so we don't know what this is. I mean, it
is a brown liquor.
Yes, it is brown. I'd say an amber.
That's
I mean, it's pretty.
Yeah, that's more of an.
And it's a pretty bottle. I love Basil. It's very attractive when you're.
Their marketing is top notch.
And I paid $60 for this when it was relatively new, and I thought I had made a score. I was on it, man. I lucked out that day. But now it's everywhere. And it's not really, well, at least around in our neck of the woods, it's pretty easy to locate. So let's try it. And I will say the age statement, it says artfully aged. It is not going to give us an exact time frame on that. All right, let's check this guy out. You could pour this sucker up. 80 proof. We could drink half this bottle and be good to go.
Okay.
All right. See, my nose has been a little stuffy, so let's see if I get in.
Yeah, that's going to affect it.
That time of year.
That's, for being only 80 proof.
It's got a little bit of depth.
It's a little alcohol forward, though.
You do definitely get the vanilla-y kind of caramel, like traditional bourbon notes. Let's see here.
It's light. It's real light nose.
Very light. I get a little bit of dried fruit, like subtle, like kind of like a dried cherry almost. almost a peanut kind of in there too, but
It's so light. It's like
there's not much there.
I'm getting little zests of something, and I can. Yeah, your dried fruit I can smell, but it's so light.
You
It's
can
just
tell
kind
that
of-
it's been in a toasted barrel. That's definitely apparent, right? So it's not just wood. It's that toasted, that sweeter note that brings out all those flavors.
I am
Okay.
very curious. Now.
Let's taste this guy.
All right, let's go.
I'm gonna say. Usually you get tasting notes. You get some, anise. You get a little bit of, some cedar. This tastes like I had a glass of bourbon on the rocks, and all that ice melted.
Melted out.
There's definitely a wood note, like an oaky note at the very end of this. You get that?
Yeah.
Where it kind of sits there with that oak flavor profile. It's not very strong.
Let this sit on your tongue for a second before you take another sip. But just let it ruminate for a second and tell me what you're getting there and what you think.
I do get kind of that's the wood, is that kind of bitter. It's very light. It doesn't coat the tongue. Again, it really does remind me of when I started drinking bourbon. I loved Bullet. My mom introduced me to Bullet. She was down in Charleston meeting with some folks, and they had a little get together.
Can't go wrong with some Bullet.
No, and she said, she showed me. She's like, try this. I was like, oh man, that's amazing. These the old fashioned orange label. So I drank that forever for the longest time, and I would drink it on the rocks before I got into like drinking it neat and enjoying the more depth that it provided. This does taste like I got up to go put my daughters to bed, came back, and all my ice is melted.
Yeah.
And the bill
Yep.
is just sitting there. It's just
Yep.
it's a little. There's not much depth to it. It's very watered down tasting, which is going to be expected at 80 proof, where they've got to have the water to kind of cut that proof level down.
You're reaching for notes.
A little bit of caramel, very tiny bit on the very back end.
vanilla.
Yeah, a little vanilla.
A lot of ice cube.
That should be a tasting note. Put that on the wheels, right?
Ice
cube.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so let's rate the nose.
All right.
Okay, so out of 10, I would say a 3.
3.
Yeah.
3.
I mean, it's
three
got
and a
some
half.
decent.
It's not.
There's
a
not
lot
much
there.
Right. It's a little bit. Honestly, the nose is probably the best part of this whole thing. It's not as watered down, but there's still not much there, and I think that again does have to do with the proof that we're sitting at. Okay, so 3 for the nose. Palate taste 2.5, 3.
Sure.
I mean, I guess we need to really figure out what the scale would be.
What would be the bottom? Right now, this would be the bottom.
This
of
is
the
my
things that we've
least
tried.
favorite bourbon that I think I own. Out of about 250 bottles, this is the one that I will pawn off on anybody that comes over. It's very lacking in pretty much every level.
It is what it is. Like it's very light.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a long lasting.
Okay,
it's
so
not going to coat your tongue.
Let me give you a keyword here. A keyword. It's pretty smooth. And some folks love a smooth bourbon, right? They love that smooth, easy to go down. I mean, you could sit down and drink half this bottle, and
you could.
I'm not advocating for you to go drink this bottle and then
Don't
go
do
try
that.
and do anything. That's a lot of
Honestly, you're not going to make it through this.
alcohol. No,
bottle.
you'll be
It's
tired
not
of it
good.
by that point. But yeah, so I would say 2.
Yeah.
Overall, I mean, there's no finish really. I mean, it's very subtle.
It's not
I mean, I
very
still get a little
viscous.
bit.
It's pretty subtle in all its respects.
Right.
Like,
So I mean, overall, best is the nose, and that's a 3. So I'm looking at about a 2 overall for this. I would not recommend purchasing this.
value.
I would not.
We didn't talk about value.
$60.
Nope.
Bend me over the barrel and call me Sally, because that's what you're doing when you buy this bottle at $60.
Well, what did we pay for the green, the Evan Williams?
The Heaven Hill
the
Green
Heaven Hill
label.
Green label.
I paid $15 for it. I got very lucky.
$15, and it is
Exponentially
500
That's
times
the 6-year Heaven Hill Kentucky only distributed.
We got to do that one.
Yeah, we shall. That's delicious, but much better than this. Again, different distilleries, so you can't really do apples.
And
to
probably
apples.
a different market. Although this, just the fanciness of it seems like it's marketed to people who are big bourbon collectors. And
I like the cork. The cork's freaking cool, man. It's huge, and it's all like, I guess that's synthetic, but it looks really neat, and it's got a nice little engraving on it. I mean, that's really nice. It is, and then he's got a belt on.
They put a lot of time and effort into the packaging.
Into the marketing. Absolutely. Yeah. And I see Basil Hayden all over the place. Advertising, I see it in movies.
Yeah.
Again, I think this is more of a introductory level bourbon. So if you have somebody that's just getting into bourbon, this might be a path to take. You know, the toasted specifically is going to not be as spicy, right? That's the goal.
It's not as sweet as I thought it would be.
No, it's not sweet.
You taste a double oaked and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, double oak tastes like
sugar comes
maple
out.
syrup to me personally. Well, at least the bottle I have. Now, so what do you do with this? That's the good question. I have this in the event. Let's say we have some friends come over, or my wife has a friend come over, and she's like, I like to drink bourbon. Okay. Let me give you some Basil Hayden and see how you like it. Put it on the rocks, and that's going to water it down even more. But for somebody that's not used to proof, somebody that's not used to drinking bourbon, just by itself, they're used to mixed drinks or wine or White Claw or High Noon or whatever, that's a good introduction. And then if they can get on board with this, then you kind of transfer, you keep building layers of depth, and you give them something a little bit more complex, and then a little bit more complex, and eventually you're getting them to where they're appreciating, and they're like, holy crap, what is this ice? Throw that out. Now, I'm not knocking ice. I love drinking bourbon with ice, especially in the summer. Boy, that is the quite refreshing cocktail. I guess it's not a cocktail, but
for us it is.
If you want to get somebody that's not much of a bourbon drinker into bourbon, maybe this is a good path. I know
don't do it.
When I first started, I was drawn to the belt and the labeling and all that stuff, and straight Basil Hayden's. I enjoyed it, and I didn't know any better.
Go Bullet. Go Bullet.
Yes.
If you want an entry level, go Bullet.
Orange label Bullet is
can't go wrong.
The stuff, man. If I'm going to the beach, I'm not buying anything super high proof. I want something that I can enjoy for the whole day. I get a bottle of Orange label Bullet, and that is my go-to. Like, that's what got me into it. It's my favorite. All right, guys, hit us up if you have a suggestion for what we need to review, what we need to look at.
Hey, in the comments,
let us know.
We need this time. We need, what would you introduce a new person to?
Yes.
Like, entry level, don't know a lot about bourbon. They're coming into your basement. You're going to drink with them. What are you pulling out? Tell me in the comments.
Something that's easy to get into, right? That's not going to be overwhelming, because bourbon has the opportunity to really kind of overwhelm your taste buds.
We could get some Peerless out.
Oh, yes. Yes, we can. All right, guys. Have a good one. See you soon.